Hey guys, Sean Madavi here with Realbees.com, and I'm always excited. I say that in every single time, but I've got a really good friend, a dear friend, and I know a lot of the interviews I say are friends, but I guess I'm just a friendly guy. I've got a lot of cool alignments in real estate, and I have the privilege today to introduce someone that I consider a dear friend, someone that was a part of a really large mastermind called the JV Syndicate, and someone that's just I'd say he's got a really big heart for real estate agents, for real estate professionals, brokers, anyone really out there that's doing any type of real estate transaction. So let me read a real quick bio about him, and we're going to get into some cool information today about expired listings and just some really cool stuff that you can take, some tactics you can take with you today, and we'll talk about some other stuff. So if you love the real estate business but hate to be pushy, if you're always looking for ways to get more listings without spending a fortune, begging for business or competing with dozens of other agents, you're in for a treat. Today I'm excited to introduce to you Barrino, known in the industry as the expert guru. Now he's the author of Expired Plus, a real estate system that turns expireds into leads and listings quickly. Barrino's been involved in real estate marketing and training for almost 20 years now. He came to the United States as a young immigrant, barely speaking English, broke, and with no business skills or education whatsoever. After years of struggle, he had finally discovered a method to systematically list expired listings that was later evolved into what he calls today the Expired Plus. Over the years, Barrino not only used the system himself as a very successful agent, but he has coached over 9,000 real estate agents, both real estate rookies and veterans, on how to increase their businesses almost instantly. His method, the Expired Plus, is a high-impact, low-cost system that is easy to learn and implement. It is based on advanced marketing, communication, and influence strategies. It is ideal for agents who enjoy real estate but hate conventional, high-pressure selling and closing. What's up, Barrino?
Hey, good morning. Hi, guys. Hi, Sean. Thanks for having me.
Well, so I want to talk a little bit more about your story because, and it's interesting because we talked about this last time we did an interview, and this may have been a year back, but tell me about your parents, because I know you have a really interesting story. Your parents are like movie stars, right? And
yes.
Tell me about that real quick.
Well, real quick, I was born in Czechoslovakia, former Czechoslovakia, communist country. I grew up in an artistic family. Both my parents were, my father was a writer, a producer, a very famous actor, entertainer, funny guy, and a great guy. A lot of my personality, my writing skills and all that, I think I can attribute to my dad. Very cool guy. Passed away, unfortunately, a few years ago, but he's still with us in the memory, and I hope I carry on his legacy now. And my mom, to this day, sings. She's still performing. She just released a new CD, and it's a lot of fun. She's in her 70s and still drives around and does her thing. So a lot of, I think, my work ethics and the art of communicating and connecting with people comes from my parents. And so growing up, I was an actor. I did a lot of movies. I did some theater, and I studied acting. Unfortunately, growing up in a communist country like Czechoslovakia back then, it was not a whole lot of fun. I really hated it there. So after running into some trouble with our communist government, I decided at the age of 24 that I just had it. I want to get the hell out of there. So I defected. I literally took off. I had an invitation to a theater festival in England, and I defected, stayed, and never looked back. I, of course, have been back since then after the communism fell. But I spent some time in Britain, and then from Britain I went to Los Angeles. I had some connections here, some friends that I had worked with prior in theater. And so my big dream was to become a next Arnold or Claude Van Damme or one of these guys, foreigners that made it. Yeah, exactly. But I was missing the muscles,
Yeah.
So I'm not cut like you, man. Look at you.
I'm not
top shape, man. That's awesome.
I'm not cut.
I've been following your story about the juicing and exercise. It's pretty cool. It's pretty inspiring. I actually, because of you, went back to yoga. So
nice.
Thanks for that. Anyway, going back to the story, after a while, I just realized that the industry here in the U.S. was very different, and I was just kind of burned out on it anyway, doing it for 20 years. I did my first diaper commercial when I was 7 months old, so I felt maybe it was time to do something else. But I was broke, so I needed something quickly. The bummer was I didn't have any background. Like, I couldn't fix cars. I couldn't build homes. I didn't have any of these skills, and not speaking English didn't help either. So I found one of those little classified ads in Penny Saver about a free real estate school. And I thought, well, this is pretty cool. You don't need to own the house. You sell it and you make, 6%. I'm like, wow, I can do that. That's pretty awesome. So I signed up for it, got my license. And this is where it gets interesting. I always like those stories where they say, I became a rookie of the year and I made $100,000 my first year.
Yeah.
It's been a great ride since. Well, I was the exact opposite. I was a dismal failure. It was a disaster. Remember, I didn't know what square feet meant. I had no idea. I had no business background, no knowledge about homes or areas, none of that. I was as green as it gets. So for 2 years, I really struggled. I had some part-time jobs just to support it. Funny thing was, for example, I was a bartender, and other than knowing how to mix drinks, I was a good bartender, but that was a small skill I didn't have. So somewhere deep inside, I still felt like I want to give this a fair shot. I don't want to quit as a failure. If I'm going to quit, I want to quit because I don't enjoy it, not because I fail. And they kept just pushing and driving me, even though things got so bad. And for those of you guys that have been to my website, you know the story. I had to live in my car. I got kicked out of a little tiny room I was renting in Downey, California. So it got really bad. And one morning as I woke up in the car, if you ever slept in a car, voluntary or not, it's a horrible experience. It's cold, it's scary because you have all these noises, and of course you wake up tired and sore. And I said, man, this is just not working. This is not the lifestyle I envisioned. This is not the Rolls Royce in Beverly Hills and girls in bikini. Come to my seminar, remember Tom Wu? I always thought, that's going to be me. That's going to be the big success. So that morning was one of the pivotal moments of my life, really, where I said, okay, either do or die. It's time to really either figure this out or get out and really put my life together, do something else. And as they say, I know it's a cliche, but it's true, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And there were a couple of teachers that appeared almost simultaneously in my life. One was Tony Robbins. It was the first time he released his personal power, and that made a huge impact on me. Because growing up in a communist country, you kind of were always told what to do. The government manipulated your thinking into feeling that you don't own responsibility for your life, for your happiness, for your income, for the joy you have in your life. It's up to the government, it's up to others to control you. And for the very first time listening to Tony's tapes, I suddenly felt very empowered. Like, it's all up to me. I have the controls. I always drive this car. Nobody else responsible but me. So that was one. And the second one was my broker, Richard, who was a really nice guy, kind of took me under his wing and took pity on me, I guess, and invited me, send me to a Mike Ferry Superstar Retreat. And love him or hate him, what I really enjoyed was sitting in the room for 4 days with like-minded people, with people who really wanted to get somewhere. Whether they will or not doesn't matter, but it was that energy, that drive, the desire. That was one. And two, seeing people on stage who clearly demonstrate this can be done. Here's my lifestyle, here's what I do, and here's how I do it, and sharing these ideas. Just like you mentioned, our masterminds, the same concept. You surround yourself with like-minded people.
Right.
Tony Robbins has this great suggestion. He says, take a look at the income of your 10 closest friends. Not your family, just 10 close friends. And if you average that income, that's your income.
Yeah.
So we associate ourselves naturally and sometimes subconsciously with people who are about our level. So one of the quick ways to get out of that and move up, and this is what I've learned among other things, is you start surrounding yourself with like-minded people who either are where you want to be or are striving for that.
Right, that's good.
So that was kind of a pivotal moment in my life, and literally within months I turned everything around. I discovered a third component to it. At the Superstar Retreat, I met an agent, Art. He was a RE/MAX agent, and he was very good with expireds, although his approach was very simple. He was a calling machine. He would just call every expired all day long, all the time, making good money doing it. So I took that as a baseline, developed it into a system, and that's how the whole system was born. I traded my old little beat-up Cadillac where the window wouldn't go up for a nice Mercedes. I got a condo, and in about 10 months, everything changed. It was really like a movie. That's what it felt like to me, at least, where you change it like that.
Yeah.
So that, in a nutshell, is my story.
That's good. I credit you to a tagline that last time that you and I spoke, I created a tagline for my business. And I don't know if you remember this, but one of the things that you said in our last call was success is right around the corner. successes. And I don't know if you remember saying that, if you said it through habitually or
Yes.
whatever. But I said,
Sure.
I love that tagline. I'm stealing it. So, well, it wasn't even a tagline. You just made it a statement. So one of the things that I say in my business is I say success is right around the corner. How many turns are you making? And I truly believe that because you were in a position where you could have stopped making turns, right? You could have just
Yes.
been like, well, I'm done. I'm done with this. So I'm done with the acting. I'm done with real estate. I'm going to move on to something else. And I think a lot of times in real estate, we're like that. Agents are like that, where we get to a point where we're there, we plateau, and we're done, or we give up. And so what I want to do today is I want to talk about something I know it's near and dear to your heart. And really, I want to talk about your expertise, your core competency, and that is expireds, because that's how you made all your money. Obviously, you've, over time, now being on the coaching and training side, you've found new ways and new things that you can test and new strategies and tactics that you can do. But I think one of the biggest things you mentioned, and you didn't say the word, was leverage. You can get on the phone and pound them out, but I think there's other ways to leverage that. So let's get in the mind of the agent right now, the person who's watching this video, this interview, and let's really kind of break down, because I want to give them some practical stuff today that they can take home with them. And then what we'll do at the end of the call is we'll kind of give them some resources that they can take action on.
Yeah, that's really my goal today, is to give you guys enough firepower to really go out and get a couple of listings maybe over the weekend. It's totally doable. It's totally possible. I had many students in the past do it. You don't need a lot of fancy resources, advanced marketing, big library, none of that. You can really do it just like I did at the beginning. I didn't have big advertising budget. I didn't have computer to do fancy mail marketing or fancy brochures. I had none of that. So one disclosure before we go any further, I have to warn you guys, I am not a good salesman. And just to show you how bad I am, I was fired from Radio Shack, one of the first jobs I ever had. We were asked to push batteries. That was one of the profit things at radio. And my battery board always came so low that they let me go after about 4 months.
I mean, that's a great disclaimer. Disclaimer, I suck at selling.
I suck at selling. I have to admit it. So if you expect like these fancy, slick sales strategies or scripts, I can't give you that. I don't have that. I was fired from a telemarketing company. I lasted 2 days selling stuff over the phone. I just couldn't do it. That's just not my style. For some of you guys, it's very natural. You have this outgoing personality. You have a lot of inner power, and you can really bulldoze through these obstacles and talk to sellers and really be yourself. That was never me. So what I had to leverage it with is psychology. I become very good at seller psychology, human psychology. What drives us? How do we make decisions? What this whole business about, I like that agent, or we picked him. What is it really about? It is not about 75-point plan of action. You never have a seller sit down after a listing appointment and say to his wife, Martha, I think we're going to go with Sean. He had 75-point plan of action.
Yeah.
He's better than Jim because he only
licensed.
had 50. Right? So it's never about that. What is it really? How do people really make decisions? So I spend a lot of time and money and effort to really analyze it, and that has become the edge first for me as an agent, and then for all the students that study the materials I have. It's all about neuro-linguistic programming, hypno-programming, psychology, not manipulation. This is not that sleazy, cheesy, manipulative stuff, mirror and matching. It goes a lot deeper than that. Where you become literally, you position yourself from the salesperson to an advisor, a counselor, a guide.
Dang, Brino, I thought you were going to hypnotize me just now. I'm sorry.
I just did. All of you, actually. Give me your money.
Where's my wallet?
And that's how it works, ladies and gentlemen. Send me $1,995. This is going really well. Anyway, so that has become kind of how I created the success, because I couldn't do it. Like, even God bless him, good guy, Mike Ferry, I really admire what he does, and he's done a lot good in the industry, but trying his approach just was too forceful for me. I almost felt like I had to go home and take a shower after each listing appointment doing, the typical sales approach. Yeah. So I came up with an alternative. That's the core of what I do. So, speaking of expireds, let's just dive in. I really want you guys to walk away with something you can just take and literally this afternoon jump on the phone or get in your car, go talk to some expireds, and you know how to do it. First of all, why expireds? Well, there are dozens of other ways to make money in real estate, find leads, find business. Why are expireds so cool? Well, there are several reasons I like them so much. First one is the most expensive, usually the most laborious part is to find somebody who wants to move. That usually, us as agents, that's what we spend our time on. With expireds, that job has been done for you. You already know who wants to sell. You don't need to go through a neighborhood of 500 homes to find a lead. You don't need to go online and sift through leads to see who wants to do something. They've already been identified. You already have a group of people who are raising their hand saying, I want to sell, I want to move, come help me. So that's one. Two, they're fairly inexpensive to market to. You don't need a lot of money or big elaborate marketing campaigns. Many are ready quickly to make a decision, so you don't need to spend and cultivate that lead. Often they're very realistic about pricing. I'm sure you have every seller who thinks our house is different, our house is better, we made improvements, it's worth more. Well, when they're on market 4, 5, 6 months and not much is happening, suddenly the reality kicks in about price. And they suddenly get it that, ooh, maybe we should do something about price. So oftentimes when you're the second or third agent, it's easier to really convince them and to help them see the reality about price.
Right.
Many of them appreciate a good agent. No matter what really happened, and often we know that most expireds expire because of the price, but most sellers will never admit, hey, we screwed up, we wanted too much for our house. Who's the first person they will blame? The other agent.
Yeah.
So they always feel, or often feel, that the other agent was incompetent, didn't do the job, didn't do the marketing and promotion. You come in, you position yourself as the solution to their problem, and they appreciate that. Even something as simple as keep in touch once a week makes a huge difference. Because one of the first complaints you're going to hear from an expired, our agent never called us, and when they did,
right,
it was for price reduction. Right?
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
Yeah. So this will help you really show them the difference and demonstrate it in the way you do business. You don't have to spend that much time educating them. They understand what the listing contract is about. They know how a lockbox works. So you don't have to spend that much time going over everything with them. They've been through it. Most of the markets, there are a bunch of them. Whether it's new expireds or old expireds, you got tons of good leads. You know, you don't have to go through a lot of database leads or whatever source you're using. There's plenty of them, new and old. But one of the most important ones, you have very little competition, in spite of what you think. Yes, there are other agents who go after expireds, who either mail them, who call them, or who go there in person. But most of them either don't know how to do it on a consistent basis as a system, or do just one of the three. The power of the system I give you is there are 3 ways to contact expired listings. Only 3. On the phone, in person, and with direct mail. If you combine all 3, if you do all 3 and you do them fairly well, you don't need to be an expert, just do it good enough. You will get leads and you will get listings. It's really that simple. So that's why I like expireds. That's why I prefer them over many other marketing and lead generating methods. Especially if you're a newer agent or an agent who is in a rut and you need to bump up your listing inventory quickly, expireds can be very quick. Very quick.
I have a question. How do you get an expired to be realistic about price? Because typically, one of the reasons why when I talk to agents and they get an expired or the house didn't sell is because it wasn't priced right, and the agent before just took it to get it. You know, they just wanted that. They wanted that award on their wall, and they think. Agents think that because I have a listing, I'm making money, and it's not true. It needs to be priced right. How do you get the customer? Because I hear that a lot from agents. How do I get them to be realistic about price?
That's a really good question, Sean. That's an excellent question. Well, there are 2 things you need to address. Number 1, most expireds do expire because the price was too high. But when you follow the sequence, the way you approach the expired from the first contact, it needs to be in a sequence. And in that sequence, the first thing you want to do is make the initial contact and keep it really simple. And I can give you a very simple script we can role play right now. You will get expireds who have been contacted by other agents. That's usually one of the first things I hear from people. All of the sellers are irritated, they're angry, they don't want to talk to me on the phone. Your job as an agent is to establish, you start to differentiate yourself from the moment you pick up the phone and start talking to them. Okay? So you do a simple script. Can we role play right now?
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. Hey, Sean, this is Farina with RE/MAX Real Estate. I'm probably not the first one calling about your house this morning, am I?
No, you're not.
I know. It's kind of crazy, right? All of these agents calling. First, nothing. And all of a sudden, all these calls out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Sean, let me ask you real quick. Have you relisted the property yet?
No, we have not.
You have not? Would you like to? Would you like to still move?
Yeah, I need to sell, but I need the price that I asked the last agent to get for me. That's why I'm listing the house. Period.
Gotcha. What do you think went wrong? Why didn't it sell?
I don't know. I think the agent lied to me. I think he said he could get it sold. He had this.
Ouch.
He had a way to market it and get it sold, and no one ever even. I didn't even get an offer.
Really, no offers. Did you get a lot of showings? A lot of people come look at it.
Barely.
Barely. That's surprising. Based on the description here, that sounds like a pretty good house. So now, if I understand you correctly, if you could get a good buyer for it, willing to pay a fair market value within the next few weeks, you'd still want to sell. You'd still want to move. Am I correct?
Absolutely, I need to move.
Gotcha. Where do you guys want to move to?
We're just downsizing. Had a kid go to college and just downsizing.
I see. Okay, Sean, let's do this. Because I haven't seen your house, I really don't know if this is one of the listings I can help you get it sold. But let me stop by real quick, maybe 5-10 minutes. Give me a quick tour. And I know how this is not showcased already probably, but it's okay. I just want to say hi, meet you in person, introduce myself, and we'll take it from there. Let's see if we click. I can be there in about an hour, and like I said, calling is about 5-10 minutes. Would that work for you?
Sure.
Absolutely. Good. Looking forward to it. I'll meet you in around an hour. Thanks very much.
See what I like about that call, and it's so funny because I don't know if you I think you knew this. I cut my teeth in copier sales at a young age, and so I sold copiers. And we talk about a commodity industry. Getting in front of a business owner that's looking to buy a copier, it was dog eat dog.
Really?
And they overcomplicated it. They asked too many questions about this and that, and it was about getting the appointment. I was like, and that was the first thing that I always, because then I got into management very quickly, and I always teach people that come in, and even in my credit repair business, it was like, get the appointment. Yes. Stop trying to sell over the phone. Get the appointment, because when you're face to face, that's when you win the customer because they like you, and obviously you got to have a good presentation too. So it's good. That was a good call.
You nailed it dead on, and that's really one of the biggest mistakes I see agents make with expireds. What they try to do is, on the phone, go straight for the listing appointment. If you really think about it, it kind of makes sense. Let's just go back and relist the property, right?
Yeah.
The problem is, there is not enough trust, there is not enough rapport, and not enough connection. It would be like walking up to a girl in the bar and say, hey, what's your name? Would you like to come home with me?
Hey.
Oh, I don't know yet. Maybe. Whoa, too fast. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's much softer, easier, and really faster way to get to the listing appointment by taking just baby steps.
Yeah.
Well, take a quick look.
I don't want to keep beating it down, but it's funny because, we're both in a coaching and training business, and one of the things I teach agents is like, stop saying I, and because if you're and especially in an expired situation, you're calling the expired, it's about them.
Yes.
They just experienced a bad situation.
Yes.
They have their perceptions all kind of thrown out there. Yeah. They have a bad taste in their mouth about somebody. It's them. You get on the phone and start saying, well, I have this and I have that, and this is what makes me different, and I. And when you do that, you're immediately turning off the client, and they're just like, or the prospect, and they're just like, why am I going to do? Because the last person that couldn't sell my home is the I guy, and they never made it about me. And so one of the things that I teach also is always making it about them. I love how you're asking questions.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and it's true. And I also do a couple other things that go on there. First is what's called an alignment. Many expireds will say, well, all you agents calling me. If I open with it and align with you, isn't it kind of crazy, all these agents calling you? I take away that negative energy from you. Suddenly you can't come back and tell me, well, all the agents call, because I already used that. It also positions you as someone who understands their situation. You tell them it's kind of crazy, isn't it? You emphasize, I'm with you. It's crazy. I know it's annoying. Yeah. So you immediately start kind of lining up yourself with them. Like, we're in this together. That bad agent, that's disappointing he didn't sell your house. And I understand you're frustrated.
You call it a line.
I probably unplug my phone for the rest of the day. I appreciate you even taking my call. But then I flip it, and I do what's called a high value, high status. I say, let me stop by and take a look at your house to see if it would fit as one of my listings. In other words, let's see if I want to list your house. Let's see if I can get it sold. Because I have a rule, Sean. I only list properties I know I can sell. If we get along, if we click, if you like me and I like you, we'll take it next step.
Yeah.
If not, no harm done. We'll last 5-10 minutes.
Nice.
So I never position myself as needy, low status. Oh, I need your listing.
Yeah.
It's always about, let's see if we can make this work.
Because they will sniff that out.
Yeah, of course. But you can't fake this. It needs to come from a genuine sense of confidence. That's one of the things I teach people, how to get to that point without being fakey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's what goes on there. You take it softer approach. Now, I didn't forget your original question about pricing, but the reason I wanted to do this first is, the rule I always teach people is do not talk about price until a listing appointment.
Well, because my objection was I couldn't get it priced right. You could have went down the rabbit hole with the price conversation with me, and that may have led to a hang-up.
You get a disqualification immediately based on commission or price.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, most of the time you have no clue whether the house is really worth that much or not without seeing it.
Right.
I mean, yes, maybe you're a super expert on your area, but most of us are not. You need to see the interior. You need to see the immediate neighborhood. What if there's a trashy rental right next to it? Will it impact the saleability of it? Of course it will.
Yeah.
So it's always good to say, look, I don't want to do just any guessing, no hip shooting. Yeah, there are agents that will do that, or especially those that want your listing, they will tell you what you want to hear. I don't think it's fair to you. Let me take a look, stop by, ask you some questions. You can ask me all the questions, and let's see if we click.
Good. That's good stuff.
Okay, so that's the first step. The second step is you do the walkthrough. That's the time to build connection, build rapport, and determine what I call core driving emotion, CDE. Very important. Once you know that, you have all the power you need. You have all the influence you need. And you have all the information you need to decide. Do I want to work with these people? Can I help them? Will they be easy to work with? Negotiate offers, get the repairs done, show the property when it needs to be shown, keep it clean and all that. Once you know what the core driving, because it's never about bedrooms and baths and size of the house and better schools, none of that. Every decision the sellers make, we all make really, is based on emotion. It's totally emotion driven, pure emotion, no exceptions. So you need to find out what is the core driving emotion that drives them. And it's one of two main core more fuels. Either they're getting away from pain or they're seeking pleasure. Sometimes it's a combination of both, but one is always dominant.
Yeah.
Your job within that 10, 15-minute walkthrough when you meet them in person is to find that out. Yeah. What is it? Yeah. It can be a sense of prestige. It can be comfort. It can be they're behind on their payments. They're getting crushed by their mortgage. So it may be a short sale situation. Whatever it is, find out what that is and address that.
Yeah. That's good. Wow, that's good, Barrino. Core, what is it?
The
core
moment
driving
you do,
emotions?
you start connecting with them on a completely different level.
Core driving emotion. Core
it
driving
isn't the core. It is the driving force, and it's always emotion. Later, it gets justified by logic and reasoning, but it's a post-process, not a pre-process.
Now, I should probably say this because I think I could add this to what you just said. This is not something that you just do to do it. There's a reason why you're learning their core driving emotions.
Sure, absolutely. What you want to do is, once you understand, it is not to manipulate again. It is to be helpful, to really understand their situation. The fun part is, often they don't know what it is. They think it's about schools, and they think it's about bigger house, smaller house.
Yeah.
So the moment you start processing with them, what is the really driving them? What is the real reason? They will get in touch with it. And it's fun because then all of a sudden they see you as that advisor and counselor and guide we've talked about earlier.
Yeah, I would assume that they would feel your empathy for them.
Yes, total connection. It's such a deep connection because all of a sudden it's not a salesperson-customer relationship. It's two people trying to work out the situation.
Yeah.
It's just like when you go to a doctor.
Yeah.
Or you go to your tax advisor, where you're seeking help and suddenly you connect and it's really very intimate and very deep.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take hours. This can happen within seconds or minutes.
Yeah.
And it's very genuine. It's very authentic. Yes, absolutely.
Good stuff, man. That's real good stuff.
Going back again about the price, you don't talk about the price. If they raise that question, here's how you handle it. You say, Sean, I appreciate it. It's a really good question. And I know putting as much cash in your pocket as possible is one of your main reasons why you want to sell. I understand and I get it. So let me do this. Now that I've seen your house, and thank you for the tour, that was very insightful, I will put the information together. And I will give you 3 answers tonight. No guesses, just facts. How long will it take to sell, realistically? How much will it sell for? What is the price? And how much cash are you going to put in your pocket? And then possibly what kind of improvements or repairs we need to do before we put it back on the market.
Right.
Once you have all the information, it's much easier to make decisions because you know the facts. There is no more guessing. Maybe it's better for you to stay here and not sell for a while or forever. Or maybe you say, let's go for it and let's get this done. It'll be up to you. My job will be to deliver all that information. I will need about 20, 30 minutes of your time. I'll be back tonight at 6:40. We'll get over everything. Then you'll decide. Fair?
Well, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
And this is good because I know a lot of agents are watching this right now, and they've been taught to close the deal on the first appointment.
Sure.
Why wouldn't you do some of the research ahead of time, comps in the area, and have that discussion with them, knowing what you know going in, seeing the house, and saying, hey, let's sit down at the table because I want to show you some things that have gone on before. Would you do that also if you have that confidence and that ability?
Excellent question. Once in a while, absolutely. There will be times where you walk in and after 10 minutes of conversation, and I'm sure it happened to you, clicking with a client like that, to you guys as well, where you just walk in and you just click, whether it's a buyer or seller, you just on the same wavelength. They want to do business with you. They're excited. I've had people tell me, so what do we do next? Where do we start? How do we? It's because I tapped into the core driving emotion. I connected with them. And of course, their level of desire to move was high. Yeah. So yes, be prepared. Always have at least a set of contract with you, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Be ready. Most often, though, it does not happen that fast. And it's okay. You're not losing anything. More than anything, as you get better at this, you will develop an instinct. And I promise you that instinct about 7 to 8 out of 10 times will tell you, let's set up an appointment. Sometimes they aren't even ready to list. They need to really clear their head, get over the emotion, clarify what they want, process it, and get back.
Right.
Some of the expireds you will need to keep in touch, and we'll talk about follow-up a little later. But during the initial conversation with them, use your instinct. It will not let you down. Don't let your fear or your neediness for a listing interfere with that.
Yeah.
Genuinely sense what is it that they really want. And you will notice that sometimes going for the appointment right away is the right choice. Sometimes setting it up for maybe a day in advance or 2 is the right thing. Sometimes I would set up an appointment a month in advance, where they say, well, such and such needs to happen first before I'm ready to real list. Well, great. Let me get my calendar, get my iPad, boom, boom, boom. Let's schedule it for August 17th. Boom. Hey, buddy.
The joys of summer. This is my son, everybody.
Hey.
Hey, do me a favor. You let Riley out, please. And I'm working. Thanks.
Nice meeting you. Cool.
Yeah.
So going back, so use your instinct. You will have a group that is ready to list right away. It doesn't happen often, but be ready for it. As the Chinese say, hope for sunshine, be ready for rain. Be prepared for rain.
Yeah, that's good.
Some, you will set them an appointment, whether for that night, a day later, 2 days later. And some you will keep in touch. And some you will just discard. You notice that the core driving emotion is not there. It's low. They're unrealistic. They're difficult to work with. You don't like their personality or the listing. It would be very difficult to sell. Don't waste your time. That's the general approach.
No, I love that.
Some, you may not have the phone number, or you follow the do not call registry rules and you don't call people. What do you do then? Can you still get expired? Absolutely.
Knock on that door.
It's a whole bunch. The way you do that is you take the conversation Sean and I just had on the phone and you do that in person. Very simple. Now, the cool thing about that is, especially if you don't have the phone number of the expired, you have very little competition. Most agents will send a cheesy letter or two, and believe me, I've seen most of what is being sent out there. Crap, trust me. So they either drop some silly letter in the mail, or they have asked the personal visit, but that's about it. They don't have a system. So if you systematically contact these expireds, and that's the beauty of it, you don't need to do 20, 30, 40, 50 a day. If you have this kind of conversation face-to-face with 2 people a day, my numbers and many of my students are about the same. Out of 10 leads you get, there's always 1 listing. Now, your skills may be different, your market may be different, your personality, I don't know, this is by no means a guarantee that you're going to get that. But if you follow it, you can expect out of 10 good expired leads, one will always turn into a listing. So all you really need is to have 2 this kind of pleasant, short conversations a day, and you can get there.
Now, I have a question for you because I know agents are asking us I know there's a lot of places out there that you can get expired leads, and one of the places that I've just loved the RedX.
Yeah,
I've got a really close relationship with Curtis Finn and their group up there, and I'm actually one of their affiliates, and I love them. I think they're amazing. Are there any other places that you suggest to get expired listing?
There is another service similar to RedX. I've never used it, so I don't want to mention it. Don't know much about it.
Hold on one second.
Yeah.
Let me.
No worries.
We're gonna have to cut this out. Maxwell,
take care.
I'm recording live right now, so you can't bug me. Okay. So what do you need? Do you want to play with this? All right, go, and do not interrupt me anymore. Okay.
All
right, so start over on that.
Yeah. So there is another service similar to RedX. I've never used it, so I can't endorse it, can't even mention it, don't want to do that. One thing, just like you, I'm partners with RedX, really like their service. A disclaimer, do you need it to do expireds? You do not. Absolutely. You can pull the expired straight out of MLS, verify the data through your title company or tax record, so you can do all that.
Okay.
You can, if you come on board, if you ever decide to come on board the Expired Plus, I will actually give you 12 different sources where you can look up seller's phone number.
Okay.
But if you have the money, RedX is money well spent. No question about it. Your search will be a lot faster. It will streamline. It will flag agent-owned properties have been relisted. It will cross-reference a do-not-call registry. So it's a good service. I think it's money well spent and make your life easier. But just to get you started, you don't need it. It's nice to have. It's not a necessity.
Now let's talk about. I want to talk because I know you got some other stuff, but I'm asking questions about stuff that I hear agents tell me every day, like they're having problems with. Automation, leverage. We talked about leverage earlier. Automation in the listing process is key. What are some ways that an agent can automate the process?
Excellent question. I get this a lot. What systems do I need to really make this work? At the beginning, you really don't need anything. I didn't have anything when I started. I had a couple of business cards. That was it. Later, I developed a little resume that got a little better. Then I developed an expired package that I would take and either hand it to the seller or leave it at the front door. Nothing fancy. You don't need to invest a lot of time. If you go to my channel on YouTube, there's a video on it, or if you send me an email, it's borino@expiredplus.com. I'll send you a link, or I don't want to spend too much time talking about the package, but it's good to have. Now, as far as automation and tools to use, one thing you should get on as soon as possible is a good client management system, CMS. The one I used and I like is Stock Producer. It's expensive. It's a Ferrari of customer management systems. But you do need something. There are others out there. There's Realty Juggler that's really good. There's Busy Agent Pro. There are some free plugins you can get for like Outlook. But you do need something. Because what will happen is you start doing this. You will notice, remember when I mentioned some expireds will be ready right away. They're ready. They click. They're high core driving emotion. You sign them up. And that can happen and will. Some, though, need a little time to vent, to cool off, to really get over the initial disappointment. Go and think about it. Put yourself in the expired position. Yeah. Person that probably never sold their house before. One of my first expireds, old lady, she was in her 70s, Miss Bessak. Call her on the phone, and now picture this cute little quaint old lady, charming, with a language of a dock worker in New Jersey. I mean, it was like she opened up a machine gun on me, and she sent me to places I didn't know existed. And she told me things about my profession and my mother and my body parts would make me blush. And I have a pretty colorful. So it was something else. I mean, she really unloaded on me. And it was startling to get, especially from someone who you always picture like a grandma with a cup of tea offering you cookies.
Yeah.
So it was like, whoosh, whoosh. But then I put myself in her position. I mean, here's a person that has all these hopes up. She gets excited. I'm going to be close to my daughter. I need to sell my house. She goes through the tedious and painful process of interviewing agents because no matter how good we think we are, it's pain in the butt.
I've done it before. It sucks. I mean, interviewing agents is not
pleasant.
Fun.
It takes time. It takes energy. And you hear all these horrible presentations. And I've heard some really bad listing presentations. And so this poor lady goes through all that. Now her hopes are up. She's excited. She tells all her friends, all her family, all the neighbors that she's going to be moving, and she's starting to look for boxes, and she's packing. 6 months later, the house isn't sold. She never hears from her agent. She doesn't know what's going on. Barely anybody shows up at her front door. And then all of a sudden, one morning at 8 o'clock, the phone rings off the hook with a bunch of salespeople telling her, we're number one, and I'm the best agent in the area, and blah, 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 blah.
I.
Of course. Yeah, exactly. Like you said. Very good point. Of course, she'll be frustrated and angry and disappointed and confused. Then she reads in the newspaper and hears on the television and on the news how bad the market is and whatever. So they need time to cool off. They need time to process. They need to kind of get over their emotions and really clarify what they want to do. That's where a good computer system, good software that will keep in touch and keep you organized is so important, because you will start putting these people on a follow-up. And the follow-up will be four prongs to it. If you have their email, regular mail, phone calls, and sometimes personal visits. And you have to keep it consistent. I have found that it takes between 5 and 15 contacts before the trust, connection, rapport is established, before they know who you are, they recognize you, they trust you, and they're pleased that they have a chance to communicate with you. Yeah. Up till that point, you're just another salesperson that wants something from them.
Yeah. And you're not going to get it with just one email or a phone call.
Now, that's the thing, on my website, expiredplus.com, you can download the Expired Kit, and it works good. I had an agent here in Virginia get 3 or 4 expireds in 1 week just using that. You can, but it's not a magic answer.
Right.
One letter is not a magic answer. Everybody sends letters. Everybody calls, but nobody does it as a system.
Yeah.
Which you will find that the success is really in keeping in touch consistently. The fact that you keep in touch is a lot more important than what you use to keep in touch. What kind of information you email them or mail them, or what you say on the phone. Just these little reminders. Hey, just wanted to give you a quick call. There's a new listing around the corner. Just wanted to let you know I'm going to be doing an open house in the area. Just stop by, have a glass of wine with me, say hello.
Yeah.
Just want to let you know another house around the corner just sold it. Got $445,000 for it. Just these little bits of information where you're not just somebody that wants something, but you give them something interesting is good enough. And then you drop something in the mail. You need to keep in touch every 14 days. After about 14 days, the window closes. They start forgetting who you are. So twice a month, minimum. Now, if the lead is hot, they do something sooner, you have to up the frequency. I had some leads that would get a piece of mail from me once a day because I didn't want to lose them. Because I figured it's a lot cheaper to send something to someone that will never do anything than not send enough to someone who will list. If you run the numbers, that's a no-brainer.
That's good stuff. Well, so we're coming toward the end. So what I want to do right now is you and I are actually going to be doing a webinar together here pretty soon, and we're going to be talking about some of the strategies that you've talked about today,
yes,
and the tactics you've talked about. We're going to go in more in depth. We're going to talk a lot of how and a lot of what. So on a lot of trainers and guys in this industry right now, it's a lot of what. Like it's a lot of just stuff touched on the wall, but we're going to really talk about how to, and what you've done today is some practical things that they can take with them.
Sure.
And at the end of that webinar, we're also going to open up a new system that it's not really new, but it's that you've gone in and kind of redone and brought up to date to work with today's agent, because the market has changed. And if obviously this webinar is going to be something that you and I are going to do here recently. So if the link is below right now, I want you to click the link to register for the webinar that Barrino and I are going to be doing together. We're going to be just presenting this to agents out there that are really looking to master expired listings, and not just get the listing, but develop a relationship with the listing. Yeah. And then once you get the listing, you'll have realistic expectations set up with them to where you can actually sell the listing and then have a client for life, because I think that's what it's about. So if that link is below, go ahead and register now. If the webinar's already passed, there might be a link below here where you can go in and learn more about Barrino's systems. But Barrino, just real briefly, tell me about some of the stuff that you're going to be teaching on the webinar. I don't want to get too much into product because I don't want to lose that sizzle, because I think it's we'd probably be here for a long time because there's so much stuff. Talk a little bit about what you're going to be covering on the webinar. And
one of the comments I get from many agents is like the role play we just did. They say, well, when I try it, it doesn't sound like you do. You make it sound so easy. And it's funny because like I have a live coaching call, a coaching program with people where we do these kind of things. Mm-hmm. And I tell the agent, be the meanest seller you can be irritated. It's okay. Let's try it. And at the end, we're smiling, and after about 5 minutes on the phone, we have a pleasant conversation. Just like you started very standoffish, very kind of cool. You kept your distance, and yet you agreed to meet with me. Well, it's a skill. And during the teleseminar, I will give you practical tips how to get really good at it. Because I tell you one thing, if you screw up the initial contact, you don't have a thing. You're dead. You're done. The first impression happens like that. But if you do connect with them quickly, if you are able to really turn the feeling into, I'm just here to help, I don't have any agenda, I'm not here to pressure you into anything, then you have a connection. And you can quickly shift them from angry, irritated, don't bother me salespeople to, you know what, it would be nice to move. I really wanted to, my wife and I were thinking about Florida, and suddenly they open up and you connect with them. So I'll give you a lot of that. Because again, I didn't have this. You know how some people are really good and natural about it, and they just have this personality or whatever in the background. Yeah. I didn't have that. I had to learn it. So the good news is if I learn it, I can teach you how to do it too. So that's one. We will also talk more about details about the walkthrough. What are some of the good questions to ask? How do you build that trust and rapport? What do you do when you meet them face to face? How do you turn it into, from a sales call where an agent wants the listing, to two people really discussing some really important issues that matter to the seller? And being genuine about it, not being scripted, not sounding like a telemarketer. So that's some of the things we talk about. We will talk about in more detail what goes in the expired package, because that's important. That helps you create first impression, especially if the seller's not home, which some will not be. You can also mail it. You can also use it as a pre-listing package, so we'll cover in more detail what you can put into it and how to make it work. And then I'll give you more tips on how to make the follow-up work, because that's really the core of your business. Most expireds will come from the repeated contacts, and it can take, again, a few days, it can take a few weeks, even a few months, but if you do keep in touch, you start converting them like crazy. I mean, I have students like student in Texas, in Fort Worth, I think he was. I don't even remember. 14 listings in 1 month, nothing but expireds. Oh. I had Rene up in Canada. He did like 12 in 1 month doing this. So it's really a real deal. This is a real deal used by real agents all over the world now. We have students in New Zealand and Britain and Australia.
Yeah, I'll name drop. There's a guy in Austin. His name's Mark Martin. It was funny, I was having dinner with him not too long ago when I was in Austin working with a client, and we're sitting on Lake Travis. He's like, Sean, he just looked at me, God, just so casual, and just like, I worked about 20, 27 hours a week, and I just know if I worked more, I'd be making a lot of money. And I'm like, well, how much, I'm like, I'd call like it is, say, how much money are you making right now? $300,000, nice. $300,000 in GCI. They're crushing it, and all they do is they work expireds.
Yes.
And the thing is they're just not scared. But I was gonna say this. Yeah. You mentioned something about doing it and in the call and an agent not being able to do it. There's always, just like working out. If I haven't worked out in a long time and I go to the gym, what happens the next day or the day after? I'm sore. Mm-hmm. Starting in an expired campaign, starting to call people in the first time and getting into it, it's going to be sore a little bit, because you're going to get them, and they're going to give you this stuff, and you might get your rear end handed to you a couple times, but that's okay. Don't give up.
Yes.
Keep going. Through repetition is when you start building strength. Through repetition is when it doesn't hurt as much, and you get better. You get more crafty. You get more wittier. And what I love about Barrino is even though he is, he's got that. You're slick. I'm telling you, your delivery is perfect. But the thing is Barrino, it's not about being slick. It's about you've been just repetition.
Yeah.
And it's duplicatable. If people just get a good mentor, get someone and follow them like you, they will understand that it doesn't hurt anymore. So when they start making the phone calls and they start doing it, that it's easier, and they feel stronger. They feel more confident. And I endorse that. I endorse that 100%. So
that makes sense. Yeah, and I'm a huge believer in practicing this stuff, because that's really how I got good at it.
Yeah,
I had my friend Tony, fellow Remax agent. We had this routine: 8 o'clock in the morning, cup of coffee, close the door in our office, and for 20 minutes we'd just role play back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah.
And for weeks, that's all we would do. is role play the first contact, role play objections. Of course you're going to get good. I mean, how can you not?
Yeah.
You know? And it's really not hard. This is a lot easier than people think. And it's really, my hardest part of my job is not to give you the tools. There are plenty of tools. It's to shift your belief what's possible. Because once you have that, I can guide you through. I can hold your hand and show you the steps.
Yeah.
But you need to have that fuel. You need to have that juice. You need to have that drive to get to that point. Because I can't give you that.
Right.
I had an email from an agent. We can wrap up with this. I don't want to make it too long, but I think you will benefit from hearing the story. Who sent me an email saying, it's not really working very well for me. I mean, I get a listing here or there, but it's not what I expected. And the problem is not the system. I mean, the system is tested, like you said at the beginning, 9,000 people are using it. So believe me, I see the patterns. I already see who's... Here's the funny part. I can tell at the beginning, even by emails, who's going to make it and who won't. It's going to come down to one thing, your desires. If your goals, if your desires, and I know I'm sounding like Tony Robbins right now, but it's so true. If your desire to have that new car or live in that new house or go with your family on that nice vacation or just have the lifestyle, whatever resonates with you, matters to you so much that if somebody chooses you on the phone or you lose a listing, it just doesn't matter. You like steam right through it.
Yeah.
So that's really the foundation. Your drive must be so important. Living the lifestyle must be so important. Don't compromise. Don't settle. On my coaching, I did a private coaching call no longer where the lady was telling me, says, I forgot what I really wanted. I wanted to have a farm with horses. And I, little by little, gradually gave up on my dreams. Once you rekindle that fire, once you get going, once you say, I'm going to get that no matter what, then figuring out how to get there, whether you say this with the expireds, you do this marketing, it's just tools, it's just steps.
Yeah.
Without that, you're not going anywhere. I can give you the fanciest marketing. It's really funny. If you go to the website, expiredplus.com, and download the package, there's like a free starter package. It doesn't cost you anything. Get the whole thing for free. 2 agents take the whole thing, copy it verbatim, and send it out, and follow the steps. One gets 3 listings a week, one gets 0. Now, how you reacted to what I just said tells me a lot about where you are. Because if you feel like, well, I can do that too, that's great, where do I go? Then you have the drive.
Right.
If you're like, well, but you don't understand, my area is different, and my market is a little different, there are not many expires, and they're not nice, and you come with all the reasons why it wouldn't work. It's not the marketing. You have to understand, it's you. Yeah. It really is the mindset. And I know we're beating it to death with this whole motivation, inspiration thing. But be honest with yourself. How much of that juice, how much of that power and drive do you have? I mean, there are times. Yesterday we were shooting a new video we just released on how to build vision boards. I had to be up at 5:30 in the morning. Not exactly my favorite time of day to get out of bed, especially if you have someone as beautiful as Hannah lying next to you. But I had to do it. Why? Because long term, our lifestyle, our goals, our desires, the experiences we want to have matter more than anything. You know, having a great, happy family and the financial background that I need to support the lifestyle we have is super important to me. So 5:30, out of bed I go. And I'm sure you're the same way. I know you have a very high work ethic and you have a drive and you have the desire. And it's just part of it. If you don't have it, rework your goals. Find something that totally jazzes you up, that totally fires you up, that like, there is no way I'm going to give up on this. I must have this. And it can be anything you want. If you want a new Rolex, great. Crappy watch, but whatever. If you want to drive a Ferrari, fantastic. Don't let other people skew you to what's an appropriate thing to have. Judge it by how you feel in your heart. And if it resonates, taking your kids to Disneyland and SeaWorld or paying for a really good college for them, whatever it is, just find something and totally hold on to it. Don't let go of that. And then guys like Sean and I and many others will be the guides along the way pointing you to the right direction. And that's the fun part of my business.
That's awesome. Well, it's true that top 10% of the agents are doing 90% of the business, and the reason why is because they have a true desire to make an impact in this industry. So awesome, Breno. I appreciate you coming on again, man. Spreading the good news. Again,
thank you.
Yeah, again, the link below is to the webinar that Breno and I are going to be doing together. What's the title of the webinar, or do we have a title yet?
We don't have a title, but it's going to be like how to land an expired in 48 hours or less.
Yeah, how to make money in real estate.
Yeah, and that's really all about. I mean, don't kid yourself. We all like people and homes, but it's all bull. You really are here to make money. This is the business you want to run.
Yeah.
So don't apologize for it. And if you're not making money, let's figure out how to get you there. That's really the bottom line. This is our business.
I love that. If you're not making money, let's figure out how to do it.
Yeah, sure.
Period. All right, my friend. Well, listen, this has been awesome. Brino, Sean Mahdavi here with realbees.com. Let me just ask you, are you going to come back on? You want to do more of these videos?
I would love to. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think this is fun. We had a good time. All right, links are below. And if the webinar's passed, maybe we'll do another one. But if the webinar's passed, I'll update this post and put some links to Brino. So, all right, guys, listen, y'all have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Brino.
Thanks. Great chatting with you. Bye, Sean. Bye, everybody. Go get him.
Go get him.